That's brilliant. Yes, dude. Yes.
You know, obviously,
PvP
very,
battle
very
at a
important to
castle.
keep in mind, a lot of the effects are still very first pass.
All right, let's watch
We'll
this,
see
guys.
you after the video.
Here it comes.
Hello everybody! Welcome to another video inside the pre-alpha testing for our Alpha 1. As you can see, I'm surrounded by some fellow compatriots here outside of a castle. They are jumping up and down like crazy. We're just having a good old day of testing. I'm joined by Margaret Crone, our community marketing lead, and Sarah Flanagan, our senior community manager.
Hello. I'm gonna kick your butt.
Yeah, I don't know why my team's trying to kill me.
I'm on the defending side.
So just to give you guys a little bit of a refresh,
Hey, that was cool.
As you guys know, we're working currently towards Alpha 1. A lot of what we've been doing in today's test has been iterating upon some of the player character movement and how that needed to be a little smoothed up, and we've gotten some good progress out of today's testing. Compliments of our glorious engineering team, in particular Adam Kippich has been doing a great job on the movement update, so that's good to see. But what you guys can see now is we're in front of a castle, and as you guys know, castles can be owned by guilds, essentially guilds that are capable of winning the siege, the initial siege of a castle, and defending it over time. Some of the things we talked about in the past, a little bit about castle
This is
sieges,
looking pretty
that,
good.
in the weeks preceding the actual castle siege, there will be
Lupe.
nodes that the owning guild will have
Malo,
to kind of
who am
develop.
I?
And part of that development is kind of
Thanks for checking out the stream.
from the nodes
Tough
that
guy
exist
lava.
under the purview of that economic region that this castle holds control over. So while obviously not all the systems are in place for Alpha, what we thought we'd do today is demonstrate a little bit of some group v group combat within the castle. There is an objective inside this particular castle right now. There is a little tax caravan in there. And as the attackers, we are going to try to get a foothold inside, eliminate the defending players, and see if we can destroy some of the caravans.
Try. You could try to eliminate
Are you on
us.
the enemy team, Margaret?
I am on the enemy team.
Oh my gosh!
Or
you
am I
traitor.
spy?
You're. Oh, are you spy?
I don't know.
What are the defenders doing in there?
They're not setting up in a defending position like they should be. Oh, they're all moving now that I said that.
Are they playing leapfrog?
I was just like, they're not really in a defending position right now.
Well, there's no time like the present, so let us see if we can we can get in there, guys.
So this is the siege right here.
Let's charge.
Charge!
All right, don't shoot until you see the whites in their eyes.
I'm
Wait,
coming
they
after
can
you,
just
Maggie.
walk into the
Try,
castle?
come at me. I have
Alright,
people to protect me.
As the tank, I'll run in first. Oh god. Oh my god, I cannot see anything. Kill the purple ones!
Whoa. Yeah, the animations are crazy.
Want to cheat a little bit?
Cheater.
Hold on, let me... health real quick, hold on, let me fix it. Oh, okay, I'm good. I'm impervious. They can't harm me.
It's a little hard as a healer right now.
The cleave damage. It's crazy that all melee has cleave.
Oh, where's my
I
where's
saw
my
you,
attack?
Steven.
Get over here.
Whoa, these animations are crazy huge.
I'm laying down my best covering
Get
fire.
out of here. No, you killed me.
Oh, my fellow attackers are here! Clear the field and let's try to take down the caravan.
Caravan has 10,000 hit points. What do you guys think about this?
DPS the caravan down.
I can only heal
Oh,
some.
We're all
coming in
good.
from the
That's
west.
amazing and fun to watch. Yeah. Okay, fia woman Wiogo. Fafakae. Maka maka loaka. This is crazy. I have no idea what's going on.
This poor horse is so nonchalant.
We gotta get back there. Stop them from killing us.
This
You'll
looks-
never get back in time.
I think we can. We can do it.
It's almost out.
Someone rage quit.
Hey, we got it.
No, not our caravan.
Back now.
Oh, you can loot. You can loot stuff. Try to loot stuff.
Yoink. Oh, I got murdered.
Loot the taxes. I found Adam.
This is actually pretty good. This
Taking
is
my life,
pretty
but they can't
fluid.
Take my dignity.
Oh no, we gotta run. Retreat!
The fluidity of the combat is way better than I was expecting.
What fat loot did you get, Steven?
I don't know. I think I got.
Like, obviously, the animations
What?
need to be reworked a little bit, right?
I don't know what was
I
in it.
worked
I
so
think there
hard
might have
for
been
that
gold.
money.
I think it might have been gold.
To pay our mayor, GM Alex.
And I feel like,
But anyways,
Don't
guys,
spend it all in one
is
place
it
now.
just
too
wanted to show you
realistic?
some of the very
I don't know.
early Alpha 1 combat. Obviously, we're going through a significant overhaul of the
It looks
combat
really
stat
good.
system. In addition,
The
you'll likely
fluidity is
see
looking really
in
nice,
the
though.
non-NDA version of the Alpha 1 some major changes in the general feel and appearance of combat as our designers are continuing to overhaul and iterate on the testing that we've done thus far. So really appreciate everybody kind of tuning in and watching this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Obviously, as I said, it's early, but you'll be able to then see, hey, Alex, what are you trying to do here? Unbelievable. Look at this. Look at this unadulterated anger from Alex.
Yeah, I'm watching from above.
Anyways, we'll see you guys back on the stream.
See ya.
Bye now.
Okay, that was
Overhaul and
that was
iterate
pretty
on
cool.
Mayor, GM Alex.
Okay, so the fluidity is way, like, that was my number one concern. My number one concern was the fluidity of the combat. And I feel like this is off to a really good start. Like, he seemed very fluid throughout that whole fight. Fluid meaning he was able to travel around as he was auto-attacking. There was very few times where he was, like, locked into place and it seemed like a turn-based action game, right? It seemed like this ever-evolving, growing amoeba of combat. And that's exactly what I was looking for. So that reassured so much of my doubt when it came to fluidity. It's off to a really good start. It's made big improvements even from last month when they showed us the combat there. Obviously, the animations need to be reworked a little bit. I feel like the environment looks awesome, right? I feel like maybe the contrast between the player and the environment for some reason is let's see if I can find a good example in here. But I feel like he blend in with the...
I think we can do it.
It's almost out.
I feel like in these huge mass fights like this, you're gonna lose your character. So I wonder if they can make your character stand out a little bit. Maybe make it so it's not so dark in the environment. I don't know. I don't know if I have a solution for it, but that's just like one of my takes is the environment looks awesome and very realistic. I'm just worried about losing your place in the in dark environments during a whole bunch of crazy combat like this. I guess that's all I'm trying to say. But other than that, like I'm really impressed with the melee combat. It's crazy how it's cleave, right? That all melee weapons have cleave. So that's pretty interesting.
Someone rage quit.
I'm worried that they're gonna balance the melee weapon cleave. Cause like if ranged is single target, right? And melee weapons are cleave, that's such a huge benefit over melee that you can cleave down multiple targets. So I'm worried that they're gonna nerf the damage of melee weapons because it's cleave and boost the single target melee weapon damage. You know what I mean? I don't know. It'll be interesting, like further on to see the. It'll be interesting further on to see how they change the combat. But right now, like the very, very basics, it's looking pretty good. And the animations actually look pretty good, even though they need to be reworked. Like, they look cool, I mean. They look like they have impact in the game. So yeah. I'm excited, guys. I'm excited for this game. All right.
So, really appreciate everybody coming back on the stream.
Yeah. But I noticed that there was a lot of comments in regards to specifically the particle effects, which we did address before we played the video.
Right.
But if you want to talk a little bit about that again,
Steve. Yeah, and just to kind of give you guys ideas, right? Like, as I was watching the stream and it's okay. There we go. As we develop. And our effects artist, which Jim is a very, very talented effects artist, as you can see with the effects. But when it comes to kind of polishing those effects, that includes a few factors. One, some of the effects need significant reductions in their general size. And that's because obviously as you enter into kind of raid situations, whether it be raid versus raid or PvE events where, you have a lot of players that are kind of using these effects, not only will the effects be customizable on the client side to kind of tune them to a degree, but also our second and third passes from the FX team is going to be taking a look at reducing some of the sizes like the black hole effect or the template that's on the ground
for
the meteor effect. The brightness of particles is also something that gets that will be iterated on. Some of the particles are very bright as well. But the idea here is to from an effects pass standpoint, you have these list of abilities that exist, obviously, with all the different classes that are present. And as you're running through to get effects in place for all of them, you're making these first passes on each of these abilities, and that's getting implemented into the game's development. Now, you guys may have heard the term like gray box when referring to games that are in development. If they don't have an asset, they'll use a gray box, right? Or they'll throw something in that's kind of placeholder. Our approach is similar in that regard with effects, right? In the sense that we're not throwing in gray box particles per se, right? We're throwing in a representation of what the particle coloration is going to be, how its interaction is going to look like, but it just hasn't had that second and third pass. So you're going to see that kind of often through different alpha footages that you're going to get in Alpha 1, because our philosophy is let's throw the first pass in there, and then as we kind of get all of those in place for each of the classes, then we'll go back and do second pass. We'll tune them appropriately.
That's brilliant. Yes, dude. Yes. Like the fact that they're making the particles and their presence customizable in your own personal UI, that's amazing. I haven't played another MMORPG that's let you do that. Like instead of trying to balance it for everyone, why don't you make it look really awesome? Obviously, you gotta make it playable in the game, right? Like it can't be too over crazy, but the idea of making it them developing what they think is awesome and perfect and then letting you customize on top of that, that's just more than I could ask for. That's just exactly what we want.
And I think there were some concerns about like color blindness and epilepsy and stuff like that. I don't know if you guys want to kind of talk about that and address that a little
epilepsy.
bit. Obviously, I know that'll be like further down.
I mean,
the line
I didn't mean
as
to
well,
laugh during that, but
those are
it's a
things that
serious
you guys are
question.
definitely thinking about as
It's
you're
just
creating these things, right?
So true
For
with all
sure.
the explosions.
I mean, little known fact. I don't know how many people know, but I'm actually red and green colorblind, and it is definitely an important aspect of in particular of UI related informational type things. So that includes like, you know, the attacker that'll have like a red icon next to them. It's not just going to be color dependent. There'll also be a texture. There will also be an icon like a sword to represent that. For defenders, you'll have a shield and a you know, blue background with a different type of texture on that. Same is true for a lot of different user interface points that'll be present that are informational in the game as well.
Cool. Do you guys want to talk a little bit about maybe
That's
Castle
a good
Siege
point.
and
I'm
PvP
glad they're
stuff,
putting
or
that
are you
attention
ready
to
move on the
detail in.
next topic?
Oh yeah, no, we can absolutely talk about that a little bit.
Okay.
So as was described kind of in the video with regards to the taxation and each week kind of leading up to the ultimate castle siege itself, one of the important aspects on a weekend basis that's going to occur between the relationship that the castle has with nodes under its purview in its economic region is going to be moving those NPC generated caravans at a time that the lord determines of the castle. But it has to be during one of the weekends in the weeks preceding, and if they don't make that choice, it'll be by default at a certain time period that's central to the server's core time zone.
Okay.
But those then NPC-driven caravans will make their way to one of the subordinate nodes around the castle, and those nodes, you know, obviously are different than the node system in the Vera proper. These are dedicated specifically to the castles. And as those tax revenues come in, they help to build and support one of those nodes corresponding to which week it is. There's 3 nodes, 3 preceding weeks to the castle siege week. And then players who are perhaps enemies of that guild have an opportunity to intercept, destroy, and raid, loot those caravans. So while a lot of those systems aren't currently set up in Alpha 1, we do have the caravan system set up that you can assign yourself as attacker defender. We have some of the castles that are present in Alpha 1 that you can see, and we just kind of wanted to use this kind of demonstration to show you what this might look like at a smaller scale. Yeah, Jeff, I don't know if you have anything to add.
I have a question for Jeff, actually, if you wouldn't mind talking a little bit about it. When it comes to classes and PvP, what is kind of like your design theory on like designing for that? Obviously, I know we have a lot of people who are interested in PvP, and balance is kind of a lot of people's concern with 64 classes.
I mean, yeah, it's a big, huge, gigantic thing to work on, right? But the way that we're approaching it philosophically is not 1v1 combat, right? Like that would be an impossible thing for us to really do, and it's not really a direction we want to go with the game, right? We're really focused on sort of mass PvP, right? So not like one-on-one kind of encounters, not really even party versus party encounters, but like these big, you know, fights around nodes, these big fights around castles, these big fights around caravans. So a lot of it is trying to figure out ways and balancing ways for classes to work together synergistically, so that like your focus as a team is building out the best, the comp that synergizes best for what you've got. And we balance it that way. So we balance party on party, we balance party group on group, and sort of the different configurations of those things. So we look at it more as a macro scale balance problem rather than like a micro scale balance problem. So there will certainly be classes, that, especially depending on your builds, because we are a build focused game, that just blow other comps out of the water. And that's okay for us. But what we do want is for party.
Oh, thank goodness. Thank goodness, guys. You mean there's going to be some classes that are going to be stronger than you and some classes that are going to be weaker than you? You mean to say that you're not going to just be the most geared player on the server and be able to 1v1 like a whole team or something? That is awesome. Like I think that's a good thing. I think it makes it like playability like more fun. I think it makes it so you have to be like aware in combat, like, oh shoot, I'm weak against this guy and I'm strong against this guy over here, right? So I'm going to be focusing on this guy. Like I think combinations, and like if I'm really weak versus the monk class, or then I might want to gear differently. right? When I fight against the monk class. Or, I don't know, like, I really like the idea of it not being totally balanced. It's also fun because that means once in a while, you'll be able to go and just one-shot someone and destroy them. And that makes you feel good. Like, yeah, you might get one shot by somebody else, but I don't know, like, to me it's worth it if I get to do the one-shotting sometimes, you know? What I don't like is when there's just one class. Like, when you try to balance them all at the same level, there's always one that peaks out a little bit, and it feels bad when you're not playing that one class. But if every class gets to peak out and every class is strong in some regard, then it might be worth it. Obviously, we'll have to see, like, once we have more information on the classes. Like, I feel like there's 3 classes playing in this clip, right? But yeah, I don't know. And I might change my mind, but
these to be relatively well balanced as long as they've been built sort of with the encounter in mind.
Right, and just to expand a little bit on that, you know, we have specific terminology when referring to archetypes and classes. Classes are the combination of your secondary archetype with your primary archetype, right? And a base archetype is one of the 8 base archetypes that we have present: the 4 martials and the 4 arcane, the ranger, fighter, tank, and rogue, and the cleric, bard, mage, and summoner, right? So those are the 8 archetypes. Now, when you look at balancing, as Jeff was saying, we kind of focus more on the group and even larger as a balancing aspect. And what that means is we're adhering to kind of the Holy Trinity principles. And at the same time, that represents kind of a rock, paper, scissors balance between individual archetypes and classes. So it's understood that some classes and or archetypes on a 1v1 basis will be disadvantaged or will have the advantage. And that we're okay with that because, again, our focus is the larger engagements. And with that being said, the active skills stem from your base archetype. So from a design standpoint, even though augments do radically change the way your active skills kind of provide you abilities, there's still a primary focus on the base archetype itself and not the 64 whole classes, so to speak.
Yeah. So that's a really good point, right? Where we're not really talking about 64 true classes. We're talking about 8 classes with 64 variants. And again, like, how you build those variants kind of depend on where you spend your skill points. You know, you could lean more into your subclass or lean less into your subclass, depending on where you're putting your points. So there isn't as much variance between the 64 classes as you might expect, right? It's not like there are, you know, 64 different versions of, I don't know, like radically different classes. There are 8 classes, 8 archetypes that are all, you know, they have the same chassis, but then they have different augments put on top of that to sort of change the performance of that chassis, to make a car analogy.
Okay, so that's good. That clarifies some questions. But I actually just had a concern come up. Like, what if, like, every MMORPG or every game you play, you always play a mage, right? Because you just love mages. The fighters seem boring to you. The healers seem boring to you. Like, let's say you always pick a mage. Well, that's if the mage is weak in 1v1s, no matter what, does that kind of lock you out of PvP, right? Like, if you're really interested in climbing the ladders of PvP rankings, whether that's 1v1s, 2v2s, 3v3s, 5v5s, like, does that lock you out of that type of content because you picked mage? Like, if you're weak in PvP situations, you know what I mean? Like, does every PvPer, if you're like serious and you're wanting to climb the leaderboards, do you have to pick fighter because fighter is the best PvPer? I don't know. Like, that's just what I'm thinking in my head. I think that's one question or one hesitation I have about not having the classes balanced. But yeah. I got to think more about that.